now? How now with your families? You do meals. Sadly, a lot of people, it's just kind of a catch-as-catch-can thing, you know, as I'm not harping on teenagers, but, you know, as teenagers fly through the house going someplace to go to another place, or we're home from work for a little bit to go back to work for a little bit. You know how life is. You know how your life is far better than I do. But a lot of times we just catch what we can on the run and go on. We always, at home, Lynn and I, with our kiddos, tried to sit down and have dinner meal. Sometimes it got shuffled because Daddy had to be over at the church a little bit later to have a meeting or to do this or to do that. It's one of those things. You all understand. But however you all have come to know having a meal together, there are probably those things that stick in your mind about how you are called to, let's say, dinner, or how everything is set up and prepared. Perhaps who all is there, and then what's done after the fact. I had the great privilege to know my two grandmothers, Lynn's great-grandmother, and her grandmothers. So five really wonderful ladies. All as different as day and night from one another, but just beautiful. But one of my favorites was Lynn's Grandma Buttry. I'm just telling you her name so you can identify her in this story. Grandma Buttry was the epitome of everyone's grandma, everyone's mother. If you have that image, it's Grandma Buttry in our life together. But she would always, when we got together, not just Thanksgiving, not just Christmas, not just Easter, but when we would drop by on Tuesday night, there would be a table just spread out full. Now, Granddad Buttry always had to have bread and butter. I don't know if any of you are that bent or not. There was always bread and butter. And for the weight conscious, Grandma always had a little bowl of torn up lettuce and salad, along with, what shall we say, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, green beans and corn. What up? Oh, yeah. And for the children who might not like fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and or corn, always a big bowl of SpaghettiOs. Grandma Buttry had all the bases covered, folks. And she would say, "Come to the table." Although Granddad Buttry oftentimes told me, "Push away from the table. Thank you." Come to the table. That glorious invitation. That everything has been set, prepared, made ready for us to gather around this place together and share in that time, share in that food. The time, I think, becomes more important than the food even. And I know that sounds funny from somebody coming out of somebody like this, but it was really just a time of sharing about all kinds of things. What Granddad was doing at work or not doing at work. What Grandma had learned at club about whoever she might be talking about, and what she hadn't learned at club. Not that you all carry tales from club, I understand. Always ask the kids, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Got anything fun you want to tell? Of course, they were always busy wanting to eat and get down. Eat and get down. wonderful memories, which is also a glorious part of what we're called here today to celebrate, is remembering. Remembering all the great and mighty and wondrous acts of Jesus Christ on behalf of not just us, but the entire world. Come to the table, he says. He invites us. Come. It's not, get your rear end in here and eat something before you race out the door somewhere else. If any of you heard that this morning on the way to church, let me know, because maybe we should talk about things. I don't know. It's come. Come. Jesus says, I have made everything ready for you. I have set everything in place. I have even given you of myself. We come doing this in remembrance, but we come also experiencing the very real presence of Jesus Christ. Not just here in these elements, but in us and in this place and in this time together. A very real presence, a power, that Spirit that helps to set things right and move us along. That was one of the wonderful things about us getting together at Grandma Buttrey's to eat a meal, was the fact that everyone was present and there was a grand presence over all of the get-together. That's where we're at today. It's an experience of Jesus Christ in our life and working in our life. We come together as a family. Yes. With all the little ones, all the big ones, all the older ones, all the older ones. And we all get together and we take part in what's been prepared for us. And in that sharing, there is that presence of Jesus Christ with us. Take, this is my body. Take, this is my blood. For you, for all of you, for all of us everywhere, of this new relationship we have. I'll share one more little story. One more little story. It's about our oldest daughter. And the first time she went to camp, she attended Santa Claus camp for a few years. Yeah. I don't know how old she was when she first went to camp. 8? I think. Okay. She had not been born into a preacher kid family, but somewhere in the middle of her life, I moved her into being a preacher's kid, okay? That's not something you would really want to wish on anybody anyway. No. She went to camp the first time. The lucky thing was the pastor of the church where we were at always helped host this camp that she was going to. So we kind of had an extra pair of eyes on her. In our family together, we said to them that you have some understanding about what we do here in Holy Communion. Look, you can take Holy Communion. Now you understand, from that time to this time, my mind has changed. Because I don't care if you understand. I care more what God is doing through this experience to each one of us than what we understand about it. Anyway, Lindy had gone to camp. She had spent a wonderful week there. She had jumped off of the diving board into the deep water, really didn't know how to swim, was saved by our pastor. He really saved her, folks. It was wonderful. by an immersion baptism, I'm thinking. You know, you could look at it all that way. So he called us and told us all about that, and we said, oh, good, thank you. Joe is fantastic. Joe Holland. Anyway, we go to pick her up. She's had a wonderful weekend. We get her in the back of the van. She, of course, sits all the way in the back. You don't want to sit too close to the folks. We're driving home. Okay, I'm riding, Lynn's driving. And she looks in the rearview mirror, and Lindy is crying. Of course, knee-jerk reaction, oh, she's probably upset about the pool incident. Lynn goes, sweetie, what's the matter? I did something you told me that I shouldn't do. What was it, baby? You know, I mean, Lynn's struggling to get the van off to the side of the road so we could go back and do triage with our daughter who's in the back seat bawling and confessing from the bottom of her very soul. And we got pulled over and said, what's the matter, baby? There at church at the end, when we camped, they had communion and I took communion. Life lessons, be careful what we teach children. Be careful what we say around children. Be careful of the ideas that we impart to children. So Lynn and I go, no, sweetie, that's wonderful. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Well, you told me, and Joe told me, and I did it. And it's wonderful. It's glorious. It's fantastic. Sweetie, it's magnificent because it's not so much about us as it is about God. It's not what it is so much about what we're doing for Jesus as what Jesus is doing for us. In that real presence, there is real grace, folks. That grace to come together with one another, knowing what we do about one another, knowing how we each individually come to the table, by no means perfect, but held in the hands of Jesus Christ in all of His perfection. And how this, a loaf of bread and some sacramental grape juice, can have the power of God working in it and through it into our lives. I can't explain it to you. I can give you the theological underpinnings, what it all means in so many different ways to so many different types of faith in the Christian community. But what really happens is an absolute mystery. And we can thank God.